In this video, I want to talk about non-literary analysis. First, let's define analysis. It's breaking things down in order to bring out the essential elements or structure. And the way we do this is we identify the parts and the relationships. We explain cause and effect relationships. And we make comparisons and draw connections. That's what it means to analyze. Now, when we're teaching analysis, or we're learning about analysis, I want to think of everything as a system. Through doing this, we can consider the smallest part, what makes up the system, and then we can make broader connections out of the system. So if I were to say the school is a system, then what is the smallest part? Well, it might be the students and the teachers, or it might be the subjects and what is taught, the lessons, and then the broader connections might be other schools or other education systems. So if I were to say I'm introducing new curricula into the system, into the school, then what might the effects be on the smallest parts? The teachers, for instance, or the students learning it, or the subjects. I could also compare to other curriculums in other schools. Now, in English, this is what we're using, a tiered analysis, where at level 1, we look at the smallest parts, level 2, we look at the whole, and level 3, we make connections. Now, obviously, literary analysis is one of the most important components to an English classroom. But I believe that this kind of thinking scaffold can be transferred to other disciplines. Now, as I said, in English, massive part, we consider the whole system, and that will be the whole text. But we have to look at the smallest part, what makes up this text, and that's often word choice, lexical choice, or literary devices, or rhetorical devices, whatever. So we might consider the effect of word choice and literary devices on a reader, consider how that creates the whole system and what that reveals about the whole system, be it the characters, the whole setting, the whole plot, the whole text. And then at level 3, we can make these broader connections where we talk about historical context, other texts, the author's life, for instance, or themes which are developed. But how would this look like in a history class? Well, we still do the same thing. We consider the smallest parts of a system in level 1. Now, this might be individuals in a group, for instance, the people in a society. And we want to be specific about effects of whatever evidence we're talking about, what it has on them. Level 2, we consider the whole. Now, if level 1, this is the whole system, so this might be a country, a group, a religion, whatever. And then at level 3, we make these broader connections to other times in history, other countries, whatever. So let's look at some more concrete examples of this. Now, in English, as we're doing our of Mice and Men unit, students have to look at 1930s America, and we write a non-literary essay. Now, let's say the student has a claim about the Wall Street crash making life difficult for Americans due to high levels of unemployment and less personal wealth. And their evidence for this is that by 1933, there are 15 million Americans who are unemployed. Well, the student needs to analyze this piece of evidence. So the first thing they do is they consider a system, right? Well, the system is America, and therefore the parts of that system is the individual people in the society. So what effects does 15 million people being unemployed have on the individual people in society? What effects does this have on the smallest part of the system? Well, one might argue that as people are unemployed, they're put into a position where they have to take any job, which means more exploitation. Also, those who can't afford rent or mortgages might have to move home or lose their homes altogether. Families might have to sell cars and other items. Those in the suburbs might struggle to travel and find new work. Also, life becomes a bit more uncomfortable, and people stop purchasing new products. Again, to reiterate, 1930s America is the system. Level 1 is the smallest part of that system being the people. So what effects does 15 million people being unemployed have on the people, the smallest parts? Now I move up to level 2. Well, what do the effects that it has on the smallest part have then on the whole? So let's consider this. If people stop purchasing new products, as I've said in level 1, what effects does this have on the whole system? Well, I've said less purchasing meant less production. Less production means more factory closures and or more unemployment, and that means less money circulating in the economy. This is considering the whole system now. The government also felt pressure for supporting more unemployed people, and there was a rise of soup kitchens and other grassroots movements. Again, all of this talks about the whole country, the whole system, which means finally I can move on to level 3. Now, this kind of depends on your essay and what your purpose is, but I might make connections to 1920s America and higher levels of production, mass production, whatever. I might compare it to the 2008 crash, or I might discuss links to World War II. As I said, it really depends on the purpose of the essay. But the point of it is, students are able to conceptualize and make an analysis more concrete. They think about the whole system and the smallest parts and broader connections. In this case, the smallest parts are the American people, the whole system is America as a whole, and broader connections are other times in history, for instance. Another example, let's say I'm doing India's Hindu caste system, or Hinduism in India. I might say that the caste system benefits those in power as it maintains status quo, and the wealthy benefit from the work of lower caste citizens. My evidence is that the lower caste citizens in society, servants, labourers and cleaners, work to the best of their abilities because they believe they'll be reincarnated into a higher caste in the next life. Okay? That's my evidence. Well, level 1, level 2, level 3. Systems analysis, compare and contrast, cause and effect. Okay, level 2, what is the system? Hinduism in India. Therefore, level 1 will be the Hindus themselves living in India. Well, what effect does working to the best of their ability have on their life? Well, I've said lower caste workers can be exploited by the wealthy. There's also little hope or attempt for upwards mobility within a person's lifetime, and lower caste workers may not aspire to go to university as they believe upwards mobility only occurs in the next life through hard work in this life. So that's my level 1. I'm looking at the sort of cause and effect relationships of the smallest part of the system, the individuals. Level 2, I think of the whole system. Indian society maintains status quo easier. As a society, there's less social mobility, larger populations of illiteracy and high levels of poverty in certain areas, prejudice in society and no difficulty in filling jobs at lower levels. So this is how, this is the effects of my evidence on the whole system. Level 1, cause and effect on the individual. Level 2, whole system. Level 3, make these connections. I could compare it to the American dream. I could also compare to other religions and their belief systems. So I've said Buddhism, in Buddhist practices, they believe if they work hard, they'll benefit from it in this life. I might also compare to British colonial practices and the history of that, and I might compare to other countries. Again, depends on my essay. But the point of it is, level 2 is the whole system. Level 1 is the smallest parts of that system, which will be the Hindus themselves. Level 2, Hinduism and India. And then level 3, again, make these connections. That's it. That's the analysis system. I believe it can work for all disciplines. So remember, level 1, smallest parts. Level 2, the whole system. Level 3, make those connections.